Welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Denise Tova, and my gosh, I am so excited today. I have a really, really special guest. She's a powerhouse. I mean, she really is. In so many, so many areas, powerhouse in family law. She's also a deeply compassionate advocate. Dina Kaplan, who's a partner at Berkman, Bodker, Newman and Shine with over 25 years. I can't believe that. 25 years of experience really navigating clients through divorce, and that's not an easy task. Custody, domestic violence, really complicated emotional cases. But the great thing about this podcast, we go beyond the titles and we focus on who's behind those titles. So, Dina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction. The raw and unfiltered in your video. Stay tuned.
Oh, it's going to be raw and it's definitely unfiltered, just kind of like your and I and my personality.
Yeah.
So I want to hear your story. I mean, I've gotten to know you to a good degree just through really few conversations. And you don't strike me as a sort of a staying on the surface kind of a person, and you can go deep. And I know there's so much to you. So how did you land here? How did you get into a law? I mean,
Mm,
what is your story?
that's so interesting. I thought that was going to be one of your questions, so I'd been thinking about it, but not overthinking. So I started during the journey at, I want to say I was about 14. That sounds crazy. But I did have a trauma in my life, and I saw the system not working well. As a matter of fact, it was very much not supportive of victims' rights. I call it survivor rights. I don't like the word victim.
Mm.
And I remember having this really deep, not really understandable feeling because I was so young, but I knew I had this feeling that I didn't like the way it was transpiring. And so I kind of finished high school in that way. It was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to be the big change. That's very idealistic. I thought I could change the world from the outside. I have learned as I've gotten older, I think at least for me, I have to work inside the system in order to make changes. And so I went to college with this understanding. I was a political science major and psychology. I wasn't sure which was going to be more prevalent than the other because I adored both disciplines. That all being said, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer because how do you change the system if you don't have the ability to be within it on some level? And so there began my journey in earnest. I studied different countries and their bodies of law. That fascinated me actually, and what we do to the justice system here versus in Japan, for instance. And I wrote papers after papers on those issues and the comparison between the United States judicial system and other countries, where we originated from in England and common law to something that is very, I think, far into our way, which is an Asian culture, like I said, Japan and other countries, and how they run their justice system, not necessarily in matrimonial and family law, but as an overriding concept. And what I found in my limited young person, still a teenager, early 20s, was that we were not effective in making change, in allowing people second chances to really change and support them throughout whatever journey they have. And so the natural progression was for me to go to law school. I wasn't sure if I was going to come back home to the Brooklyn area, which is what I ended up doing, or stay in Massachusetts where I went to undergraduate. I went to law school, tried all these classes. I was an okay student in all transparency, except when it came to matrimonial and family law. I was a rock star. I joined a clinic that we would take on certain cases. It was somewhere between like legal aid and private pay, that area where people can't really afford a lawyer. And so we would pick with a professor some case that had interesting concepts and issues that students could work on. And it was fascinating to me. I clerked for a family court judge in Kings County. She was one of the first openly gay judges, and they would do a circuit of adoption proceedings. She actually signed off on the only one that I knew at the time, a gay adoption. It stayed because there was no appellate review or anything like that, but it was fascinating. Not just fascinating, I saw little kids coming in for adoption, walking out with balloons, happy parents. It was just, that's where my heart was. I also saw the flip side of it, where kids in distress that had, been caught doing some bad things, but that didn't mean that they were bad people. They just didn't have a good or fair shake in life. And so I saw this judge navigating through all of it. And I was looking at it through rose colored glasses for sure, but it fascinated me. I got to see the human condition from, adoption, which is celebratory, to children they're avoiding going to juvenile detention facilities, and how to support them in really from their tough upbringing to some kind of adulthood that's productive and helpful to society. So that was really my genesis. I didn't immediately leave law school and say, hey, I'm a great matrimonial lawyer and I can handle high net worth cases and I know what I'm doing. I did not at all. I started doing some 18B work, in public representation, basically. And at 26, I don't think I really could handle the emotional bandwidth to handle these kinds of cases. And so I stepped off of it to general civil work, most boring stuff I've ever done in my life. I'm not good with dry. I'm good with drama. And we know this. Put a little chaos in my life. Denisa, you know me.
Oh
You
yeah.
put a little chaos in my life and I thrive. I am not good sitting at a desk, pushing paper and listening to sterile arguments in court. So I found my way into what I like to refer to as drama crisis world. And I love it. I do. It might sound counterintuitive to the normal people out there, but I love to be part and parcel of this system where it's frustrating. There's an emotional toll. But I'm going to stay with the rose colored glasses. And I kind of insist that we do make a difference, hopefully positive. I hope that we as the matrimonial bar and family court practitioners, keep our eye on the prize, which is not necessarily burying your adversary sometimes, but also listening to what their number one priorities are. And if they can't figure that out when they have children, to guide them the best way we know how to reprioritize versus hate versus love. That sounds so hokey. I swear to God, it's not. I can't believe that came out of my mouth. And my fellow colleagues are going to be like, "Are you kidding me?" They all know me, and I'm kind of a ball buster, and so to say that, but I really do mean it. I really do feel like we can make a difference. So
Well,
that's my story. That was a lot, but
no. That's I feel like that's just the beginning of your story. So
true.
you like to you're a doer, obviously, and to foster change, I guess. I mean, why stop here? Why not take it all the way to the judgeship?
You know, my mother actually asked me that, and I am not diplomatic enough to be a judge. And first of all, I'm getting too old because they age out at 70 and I'm 55, and I'm very proud of that number. I know, and that I would still have, 15 good years, but really, people that know me in the business and personally would know what would come out of my mouth would not be judicial temperament, and I am best on this side of the table. And I've thought about it. I really have thought about it. I've been approached over the last 10 years. Would you want to? No, I don't like the politics of it.
Yeah,
You're very restricted, and you are, at least from my perception, it's about the politicking to get on the bench. And I've seen way too many practitioners that have forgotten where they come from.
yeah.
That's not to say all judges. I've met some of the most brilliant judges. I've appeared in front of them. I've read their decisions. Great respect for the bench overall. but I wouldn't be suited for it. I say that with a smile.
Yeah, I know you do. I, despite all that, though, I think maybe that's something to think about because that's needed, sort of the unfiltered, direct. I mean, screw politics and diplomacy. That there's when you're dealing with human lives, children, none of that shit matters, and you're a doer and you can affect change. And so, anyway, we can table that for now. But mark my
Fair.
words, I know we're not done there. Um, you said something happened when you were 14 years
Mhm.
old that sort of got you thinking about the law.
Yeah.
Uh, you care to share?
It's a tough one. It's taken in all candor, I don't pull punches, and if I said it a little cagey, it's a difficult topic. I was raped when I was 14. It's taken a lot of years to say that with a clean face instead of mascara dribbling. But I've really I've come to not just a level of acceptance, it's part of my past. It's made me, in part, who I am today. And I'm proud of that. And like I said, I don't believe in victimhood, I believe in survivorship. And so this took many evolutions, by the way. This wasn't, I was 15 and everything was great. It was pretty tragic and framed my life for a long time and relationships and all of it and how I approached the world and how I feel secure or not secure in my own person and my own body. There's so many layers to that that you can't do it in a 20-minute, 30-minute conversation. It's a very deep conversation to have. And I think that's really what started it. The person, the I don't know, the offender, I guess, the person who significantly transgressed on me. He was also the son of a local judge. So this is before, like date rape that became such even a topic. It wasn't a thing. These things were hushed, and I saw that. I didn't understand any of it, by the way. It was not something that I grew to understand and feel in my soul, but I watched an extremely unfair situation happen. I didn't have the words, I didn't have the emotional capacity to really understand it. This got serious. Sorry. I usually crack jokes, but this is a serious topic.
Yeah.
Um, and in my way, healing from that has been over the course of 3 decades or more. A lot of work. I think part of what I do for a living is channeling that energy in a positive way because I really do believe that we go through these experiences and you can get sucked into them. You can die under the weight of them, or you can rise from the ashes. I actually tattooed a phoenix on my shoulder. No, nobody really sees that in court or even in work unless I'm more casually dressed. But it's a symbol for me that I never want to forget that I had to walk through fire to be reborn. That's the symbolism of it. And next to it are kanji symbols of strength and power. And it was my way of expressing myself to remind myself, not the world, because I'm the one, I don't even really see it much. It's literally up here. But it was something that I wanted to put into my soul, on my body, for a reminder for me that no matter what you go through, you can rise from it and use it to your advantage. That's the thing. If you die under it, you never see what the outcome is. It has made me, I think, a very strong person. It's allowed me to be there for friends that have gone through similar issues, for family member that went through something tragic in her own right, and also for a compassion for clients. It's when you go through that, you look at the world a little bit differently, and you can look at it black and it all sucks, and that's the end of it, and people are horrible. I don't see that at all. I see humanity. I think human beings are beautiful. I think that, and I don't mean the outwards, of course, that's a no brainer, but I mean the inside of people. It's an amazing fascination I have to study people, their behaviors, their thoughts. You see it in court all the time. I use that in court. When I'm in court, I'm looking at everything. My eyes might be focused on the judge or whoever I might be talking with, but I see everything. It's a study in human nature. And I think that was the starting point for me to bring that into the courtroom, to bring that into my work, to bring that in meetings with clients or other attorneys or whatever it might be. Even how I learned to parent, and deal with my own parents. Compassion, number one thing. People forget that all the time. That was a little bit soapboxy, but there you go.
Fuck.
I'm so glad you said that word. It's my favorite word in the English dictionary, which is why I could never be a judge because I'd be telling people to fuck off all the time.
I think it's healthy.
It is healthy. It's an
I,
expression.
I'm seriously, I mean, I do have hair, by the way. Yes. And it's standing up. That is so freaking powerful, Dina. I really, what you said, you also said, keeping it bottled up, whatever the word is, that erodes you from the inside. And
Mhm.
it's giving it air, giving it space. I'm just kind of like, as you were talking about it, I'm feeling it, and kind of took me to, my early teenage years and years of eating disorders and
Mhm.
trauma and the loss of, my son not that long ago. But talking about it though, talking about it and not bottling anything in,
Yeah.
that's it. That is it right there. And
Yep.
and so no wonder you are such a powerhouse, so impactful in what you do. And people around you, they have to feel it, your energy. I mean, yeah, you're a force. You're a
I,
force.
I do have a lot of energy, and I'm constantly told, slow it down, stop, because my brain works in, you can call it ADD, ADHD, whatever. I call it my brain. It runs hot, and I can have 10 things at once, but I know where I'm going. I know where this is, and I remember things. I have an amazing recall, and I freak people out because I can remember. Well, look here because that's where that is. And my associates that I love working with, they're like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's in my head." So yes, I constantly get told, slow down, breathe, and don't assume we know what you're talking about. And our brains don't work as fast and as furious as yours does. It's helped me, right? It keeps me on my toes, which is what you need to do when you go into court or in any kind of area of the law. You need to, at least I think, for what I do, being in the courtroom, you have to be thinking on your feet. You have to be fluid. You can't just be stuck on one thought. It'll never work. You won't be effective. But I am, as I'm getting a little older, I am, and I'm not old by any stretch, so I'm not saying that, but I am more receptive to people around me that I work with saying, take a deep breath and don't assume that we can run as fast as you.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, that's your brain, and you probably figured out that's just also was your way of coping. It's moving, thinking
Oh,
and
yeah.
moving, right?
Yep. I used to say sharks can't stop in the water. They keep going. So,
Yeah.
not that I should equate myself with that. I don't know that's really the best equation to my personality, but yeah, of course, I put my energy into moving, thinking, doing, right? Because in earlier years when I was younger, to process and not have the ability to really process it, don't process it by moving, doing, shaking. It's worked well for me because I believe it's really given me the foundation of my career. It's an amazing asset for me. That being said, I could also slow down every once in a while. And that's what I'm learning to do. That's my incarnation for this year. Every year I have a saying, and in 2025, it's slow down.
Wh-
2024 was get out of your comfort zone.
Oh.
That's
Mm.
a good one.
Okay, that is a good one. Okay, so
Mhm.
before we go to 2024, let's talk about 2025.
Yeah.
How is that working for you, the slowing down?
Nah, trying. It's a
I
work in
can't. I
progress.
can't. So
I'm trying. You know what it is? I'm receptive to it. And I would never have been receptive to it if I wasn't putting it as a mantra in my brain and also trying to step off, right? I don't have to do it all. I keep on getting told that. And the people that I work with, I have such amazing respect for, and I adore them and my work family, that I am listening and I am slowing down as much as I can. I'm not going to stop. And I'm not going to be, this person that contemplates and, my meditation is moving. And that's okay. I don't believe, at least for me, that you have to sit and meditate. Some people that really it works well. I run outside. I lift my weights. I think, I do. But that's a meditation, especially when I move my body. It's like the thoughts just evaporate and I can just concentrate on what I'm doing. So coping skill into an asset. That's what I meant by not dying under the weight of it. If you can convert your negative experiences into positives that ensure or at least facilitate your success in life on whatever level it is, personal, professional, kids, parents, partners, whatever it might be. If you can make that transition from the negative to the positive, that's a success. It's not monetary. It's not measured in houses and cars and jewelry, which I like all that stuff, but that's not the measure of it. It really is the measure of being able to turn life experiences that are hard, beautiful, some of them, but hard, into that asset that I've used throughout my life as a parent, as a partner. Not always successful with that, I have to admit. I hope they don't see this, but you know who you are. So
I hope they do. I mean,
I
look at you.
know. That's true. That's a good point. You know, progress, right? Not
Yeah.
perfection. I think
Yeah.
the perfection is in the progress itself. If you stay static and don't move, that's the issue. If you move and you progress, whether it's one step at a time or 10, that's okay. As long as you're pointing in the right direction and moving, success.
You've been through a lot of like massive transformation. I mean, you
Mm.
physically. I mean, you
Yes.
just, yeah, tell me about that.
Well, okay, so I had Achilles reconstruction in February of 2023,
Ouch.
and it was gnarly. I had neurosurgery in 2017. I had an accident, and I threw a disc and whatever, and I had to undergo neurosurgery, which was terrifying in and of itself. The Achilles terrified me more, and I can't tell you why. I think it was about total immobility and not being able to do my constant motion. I really had to figure out different ways to, ambulate and do what I do, slowing down, right? It slowed me down. So I had the surgery. I was in, I don't know, 3 casts, 1 hard boot, and a brace, and it took a lot of physical therapy before and after. And I went to the surgeon. I think the second cast when he was putting this in, he knows who he is. I don't know if he's on my social media, but he knows who he is. And he said something to the effect of, well, I was complaining about the swelling and the pain and how long this is going to take. And, just being not that I didn't have the positive energy for this particular conversation. And he said, well, you're in your mid 50s and you have a high BMI. And I looked at him deadpan and I said, I just said this to somebody today. So I'm old and fat. That's what you're telling me. And I said, that's not acceptable. And I just went on this journey. I know how to do it. I've struggled with weight my whole life. It's not like I'm new to protein and carbs and the sugars and all that. I've been to more nutritionists than my pocketbook cares to recount. And I found a great one now, though. And I check in with her. I love her. I adore her. For whatever reason, this nutritionist at this time in my life was the answer to my prayers. And I listened to her. Again, not something I would have done when I was younger because I would know better, or I would just plow through the topic because it's such a sensitive, body image is one of the most sensitive topics for human beings, certainly women. And I started on this journey. I literally would get down on the floor and do every floor exercise, core included, that I could do. Weights, everything except obviously, dealing with my atrophying leg and foot. But everything that I can do to get strong, I did. I had a wheelie scooter. People used to make fun of me. I would literally go around the neighborhood. I was counting it. I'm like, I can do a mile. I sweat. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting, the energy out, the angst out, and I'm burning calories. I would go all around the courthouse with it, with my backpack on. I had like the Cadillac of knee scooters. Like,
Love
no
it.
kidding. I had a little basket and everything. And I went around, I'm like, no, I don't need anybody's help. I can do this. And so I started to change the diet the way you're supposed to, right? I don't like the word diet, by the way.
Yeah.
Lifestyle alteration. Diet
Yeah.
is a negative connotation. So
Yeah.
I started to really change the way I fueled my body, which is the way I look at it now. And as the weight came off, which is kind of weird since I was incapacitated physically, but it started to come off. And then you get more jazzed when the scale, I couldn't weigh myself for like 3 months. Had a cast on and then the boot. I think I weighed myself maybe 4 months in. And I was like, that's less than what I remember. Okay. I feel good. My clothes are fitting better. And then it just like once you have that positive reinforcement and also outside affirmation,
Yeah.
people say it's inward. That's true. But it's really nice when somebody says, hey, you look great. That positive affirmation kept me going. And I think it's really important. And I always turn that around to other people with whatever struggles they might be going through, because that positive affirmation, that one sentence, hey, you look great. Your hair is perfect. You look like whatever. Saying that one thing to that person could give them the courage and the impetus to move on to the next day, because that's what people did for me. And so it just kind of spiraled into this healthy lifestyle. I was pre-diabetic, gone. Sleep apnea, gone. Heart medicine that I'd been on since my late 30s, gone. Cholesterol medicine, gone.
Wow.
It's like a miracle, but one that I worked to attain. It's not like some white light came down and I lost weight. This was a lot of work, and it's a lot of vigilance, and it's now part of my daily life. Up at 5, into the gym, or I run outside, whatever it is, I have a routine. And I alter it on occasion because I try not to be that rigid. I will have ice cream on occasion. It's not like I have my sons make fun of me all the time. They're like, turkey burger, turkey sausage, ground turkey. Is there anything else you eat? And I'm like, not really. It's my comfort stuff. Like I
Yeah.
know that fuels my body. Protein shakes every morning. That fuels my body. But I'll still go out to dinner and enjoy myself. You know, it's just different. And so I'm learning that balance. That's been a big word in the last
Mm,
3 years of my life. Learning
yeah.
balance. Not been easy for me, but I've learned it. I feel great. And when you feel great, and people say you look great, and even though there might be some dysmorphic image in the mirror that happens to me all the time, when people outside say it and the clothing starts to fit great and I'm shopping and I'm like, hey, I can put that on, it looks pretty decent. When I can say that to myself, that's what I need to keep going. So yeah, positive transformation.
Wow, you really are on the go. Unbelievable. Working hard on yourself. And yeah, I mean, just really inspiring others. And you're describing and not something that happened overnight. I mean, it was a process. It was uncomfortable. It was painful,
Hmm.
but you kept going. And yeah, there's something to it. It's like once you start seeing the small wins, they really add up, in a
Yeah.
big way. And then when you start hearing the reinforcement and wow, how would your kids describe you?
Okay. If I'm going to be totally honest, because I
Yeah.
know they're going to see this, I how would they describe me? I'm tough. My older son played football, and when he got to that place where he's like, I can't go anymore, I always said to him, you give it 100% and a little more, just a little more, and you can do it. And that's not a philosophy that works with every kid, and so it's been changed for my other child. They're like the light of my life. They both will say that I'm tough. They both will say I'm a little wacky, which is totally cool. I
No.
embrace I embrace my craziness. I'm good with it. I was the mom where and this might be a little embarrassing when they were younger. When you'd have that summer misty rain and it's
Yeah.
warm out, I
Yeah.
would like go outside with the dog and we would like dance in the rain. And
Oh,
like they loved it. They might look back and be like, God, she was wacko. But I think it was all part of that lightness that I wanted to bring to my kids. In the middle of Westchester County and scholastic and academic challenges, like gotta work, gotta do. As a single mom, I've been divorced since 2011, I think it is. They will tell you that I was like a drill sergeant, but when you're a working mom, in my estimation, if you're going to have everything that works as well as it can, you need to be regimented. You need to have a schedule. You need to follow it. And that's what I gave my kids. I think they would also tell you, and if not, I would pinch them behind their backs, to say this. We have a great relationship. I love them. I love their progress. They've each gone in their own way in very different ways. They're brilliant human beings, and I think I would like to think that they would say they got that, at least some of that from me. So a little wacky, loving, awesome mom. That's what they would say. But tough, admittedly.
This is great. Oh my gosh, I can talk to you here forever. What would you do if you couldn't practice law?
I'd be shit out of luck.
Yeah.
What would I do?
Yeah.
I probably I probably would have gone with psychiatry on some level.
Mm,
I don't know exactly how that I would probably counsel because that I love that part of it. And we do a lot of that as matrimonial lawyers.
yeah.
We're part business evaluators because you need to know that stuff. We have to evaluate tax finances, accounts, what dividing, as you know, in your career as well. We have to know all the financial aspects of, or at least know where to go to find answers to help us. We have to be counselors for people going through some of the worst times of their lives. They're going through tough
Yeah.
times and they might not see things so clearly, but I would say most of the people that I've come across are really good people, just at bad spots. And so, what would I have done? I probably would have gone into some form of psychological counseling, and they say people that do that need it themselves too. So I would have brought my own experience into the couch. It would have been for me as much as for a potential patient.
Oh my gosh. What's next for you? I mean,
I have
you're
to take
obviously
over the world. Hello.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, seriously, I do
mm,
have a question though.
yeah, of
You
course.
so you're a person on the go, full of energy. So you have been accomplishing some pretty monumental things. Do you feel this sort of a now that you're seeking a war and a conflict, but do you sort of feel like, okay, I got this routine down and I've accomplished this. Okay, so what's next? Do you feel sort of that like push to accomplish, to challenge yourself, to do something?
Hmm.
Um, is there something lined up for you? Are you thinking about something?
So professionally, the reason why I
Both.
love I'll do both, right? Professionally, I love what I do because every case is different. Every set of people that come your way, every adversary, well, some of the cast of characters we see over and over again, but every case brings its own level of work, evaluation, and analysis. And so I'm never bored. As a matter of fact, if I'm in the office too many days, I drive my assistant actual like batshit. She literally sent me home a couple weeks ago when I was like, I'm not in court. I don't want to do the paperwork. She's like, you need to go home. You need to go home and just leave me alone. And I respect her so much because she was right. So I love that aspect. So what I'd like to do professionally is like I want to take over Westchester County. Sorry, my fellow colleagues, but I do. I want to grow the office here. I've got a great support network that I know you know as well. I want to use that to build blocks here as a legacy and not as a succession plan necessarily, but I want to build it because I can. And I have the support and wonderful people around me professionally to do that. So that is what I would like to do on a also, this is personal and professional. I do want to learn to delegate. It's a word that's been used in love and kindness multiple times by multiple partners and associates alike, and right up there with slow down, please, and learn to delegate. So, that's my next level of personal growth, which impacts my professional.
Love it. Oh my
You know,
gosh, love it.
and work life balance. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm tackling that.
Well,
I don't know what
that
that
is your
means.
balance. This is your balance. I think you've been, balance to me is all of that. It's extension of you, right? It's not either or. It's like it's you do it all and just you're finding a way to do it all in a way that you can optimally do it. I that's at least my personal belief. Like
Mm,
when I am sitting with a laptop over the weekend, it doesn't mean that I'm reviewing reports. That means, there's something there. It's easier for me than looking at my phone and scrolling social media. Is I'm learning something, I'm creating something, better than just sitting there with a thumb up my butt and just like staring into the distance. But so that's, and that may involve work, but but that also makes me happy, being maybe in the backyard with it. So I think it's the definition of balance is, what is it like not being in balance?
Mhm.
When do you feel not in balance?
Well, when I was in Europe for the first time in my adulthood, and I'm on the phone with my one of my now partners talking about a case that just went topsy turvy, and I was literally in Paris, and it was like a dream of mine to go. And I'm sitting there, I was shopping. That's a shocker. And I'm sitting there going, "What am I doing?" That's
Yeah,
not a work-life balance.
no,
So
no.
I've changed a lot of that. I actually do unplug. It's not easy for me. I will say it's hard for me to unplug, but when I do, I am learning to relax. And I have to remember that because to go and always do it. I don't, backyard stuff, right? I'm sitting there, I look at my phone, I go to my iPad, it takes me 5 minutes, and then I'm done thinking about it. And I feel like I can put whatever that email that I might need to address, I put it to bed for the weekend or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I've made strides in taking care of myself by going away. I have a brother in California whom I adore his family. I love them, and I've been going out there because the firm that I'm in supports me and gives me the ability to do that. And I go out there as often as I can, sometimes to work, most of the time to play. And so I'm learning. That's the evolution. And when you put all that together, even though we started this podcast with, I do emotional work very, and it can be very stressful and all of that. If somebody asked me how one word to describe me, I'm happy. I don't have a perfect life. I don't have $10 million in the bank. Again, not the measure of a human being. I work hard. I love what I do. There's, life throws lifey stuff at you. You have to navigate it, and it's not all pretty. But I have skills to do it, so I feel like I'm blessed. I'm not hanging out there. If something comes my way, I can fix it, deal with it, work through it, or find help, whatever it might be. And it does. I don't allow it to get me down. Right? Happy, joyous, and free. I say that to my kids all the time. Be happy, joyous, and free, whatever that looks like, right? It doesn't matter if it's working at McDonald's or, my older son's working for a hedge fund. He went to law school. If that's his happy, joyous, and free, I love it. If my other son chooses whatever he does and it makes him happy, joyous, and free. That's what I've kept on saying to my kids. And I've learned that for myself too. Happy, joyous, and free.
And that is an excellent advice and a great mantra to end this absolutely just really enjoyable episode. And thank you so much for sharing yourself. It's been incredible.
Well, thank you for having me. I was a little nervous to do it, as you know. It's like hard being flayed open, but I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth. I was hoping it wasn't going to be totally not politically correct and offensive, and it wasn't, I hope. So we're good.
I wouldn't expect anything different other than just the pure your truth, and being direct and open. So this has been really great. And to anyone who's listening, and to our viewers, to find out how to get hold of Dina Kaplan. Of course, you can click on a bio link below, and make sure that you follow us on all social media channels. Subscribe to Beyond the Bar podcast. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.